Hi everybody, it's Paul from Ballistic Blood Bullets with some Italian horror to chat about today. Part of the reason for choosing Italian horror is due to Dom, aka Lastalot, who is a fellow YouTuber, a very cool guy, and he's very kindly putting up a competition for us to win some very nice goodies. And what he'd like us to do is a video of our favourite Italian horror, thriller, gore type movies. Dom's got a huge collection, great movies, videos, DVDs, you name it, he's got it, and his particular passion is for horror and Italian horror. The purpose of this competition, I believe, is because he's coming up to the magic number of 300 subscribers on his channel, which is absolutely fantastic. Compliments to you on that, Tom, but very well deserved. It's fair to say that he's got more subs than the combined World Navy. That's a hell of a lot, and as I say, very well achieved. Anyway, the theme is Italian horror, and what I'd like to do is actually select, there's three that I particularly selected that I watch a lot and I love dearly, but I also thought it would be a good opportunity to show off some of the videos that I actually have and have collected for many years. So without further ado, I'll dive right in with a film that is no unfamiliar surprise to any true collector of Italian horror films, and that of course is Lucio Fulci's The House by the Cemetery. Very much it's one that's going to be in everybody's collection, but this is one of his great zombie masterworks. Very good old school Italian 80s horror, and this is one that I've got on the UK Vampix label, and it is one of my favourites. But then again, being a Lucio Fulci fan, any film of his during that period of the 80s particularly, I would pick up every time. There's one. There's another edition I've got, a European edition. I think it may be Dutch tape, or an English version that was only available in Europe, so it was exported to Europe due to our UK certification regulations about things being cut and uncut, which has always been the bane of our society, unfortunately. This one's got slightly different art to it, but it's still very much the full uncut version of Fulci's classic House by the Cemetery. One of Lucio Fulci's lesser talked about movies is this little beauty, Conquest. Conquest is a fantastical film, which is gore-ridden, as you can see, but it's an unusual film insofar as it's more like a sword and sorcery type, and it is quite an unusual film by Lucio Fulci's standards. All the gore is there, but it's an unusual one, and it's shot in almost like a dreamlike sort of fashion. It had this strange lens cover that was put onto it that gave it this surreal look. It's a movie that stars Spanish actor George Rivero, and his character, who we see here, is a mystical, magical bow and arrow laden character who fights off against mysterious cave-dwelling monsters and creatures and zombie-like sort of presences, and an evil witch, and he has to overcome all these things, but it's a great film. If you can come across it, pick it up. This is the Japanese tape, but an unusual film, but certainly for Fulci fans, a must-have for any collector. So that's Conquest. Another one which is slightly less talked about for Lucio Fulci is Murder Rock. This is more in the sort of giallo thriller type stakes, but again equally as engaging, good fun, plenty of gore, perhaps not as much gore as one would normally expect from a Fulci film, but it's there nonetheless, and it's to do with murders in a dance school. It stars Ray Lovelock and one of Fulci's used before pretty-faced, very attractive Italian ladies, Olga Carlottos, who's in Fulci's classic Zombie Flesh Eaters. She was the lady that was the unfortunate recipient of the infamous spike to the eye scene in the classic Chunk Blower. So that's Murder Rock. And here we come to a much recognised classic that Dom and everybody else, I think, who's been contributing these videos to Dom's competition would definitely be showing off and have, is of course the New York Ripper. An astounding film, really, very, very gory. The killer with his fantastical quacking voice, the Donald Duck type character, but that just adds to the fun of the enjoyability of this movie. So there we are. I won't linger too long on the naughty bits there, but that is Fulci's New York Ripper. Another great and well-known classic of Lucio Fulci's is The Beyond. This again is the UK Vampix label from the early 80s. It's one of those movies that again unfortunately ended up being on the DPP prosecutors list of banned movies, even though this particular version is actually not the full uncut version of the film, which I was very lucky later to realise there was a full version available, and of course now it's quite easy to get hold of, but watching the uncut version is just something else. It's really is a very, very good zombie film. But again, it's one of my favourites, and having the DVD fully uncut, seeing the likes of David Warbeck and Catherine McCall together in a Fulci classic, and that's The Beyond. Okay, what I'd like to do now is come to my 3 personal selections for Dom's competition, and these are all films that I've watched 10, 20, 30 times over the years and enjoyed, and still enjoy today, and will continue to watch because they're just wonderful films, great films. If you're a fan of any Euro horror sci-fi films from the late 70s, 80s into the early 90s, these 3 for me are right up there as being amongst the best. First one I'd like to share with you is Luigi Cosi's Contamination, or Alien Contamination as it's known in some areas, and of course it's a Italian take to a degree on the 1979 classic Alien. But this one, of course, in good traditions of Italian films, is spiced up with gore galore, and it's got Ian McCulloch, he's made 3 or 4 of these, and they're all brilliant films. Ian McCulloch did so well, and he's in some of the greatest Italian infamous gore movies of all time. This is directed by Luigi Cosi, as I'm sure you'll know. And it's got a real timeless feel to it because he very cleverly shot it in an area that it's the cars and what have you that were used, and the buildings, they're set in a period that it just hasn't changed, and it's almost like a timeless zone. And the clothing that the characters used was very particular, so it didn't stand out as being fashion sort of conscious of any particular period. So when you watch the film today, you actually find it to a degree hard to pinpoint what decade it actually came from, and it still has that slightly futuristic feel to it, which is all great credit to Luigi Cozzi. Fantastic film right from the beginning, and set in New York with the eggs arriving on the freighter being opened by the guys and scientists in the white suits, which are particularly wonderful for attracting the gore and the exploding eggs and all the blood. So you get all those nice white suits becoming crimson. But there we are, that's Contamination, aka Alien Contamination, one of my top 3 favourite Italian horror films. Next, again, I can't disagree with Dom. We've got Dario Argento's Tenebrae. This is again on the Video Media Vampix label. Great film. Everything about this is just one of the great giallos. Gory, fantastical, fantastic music, great characters in it, and stupendous ending. And I love the fact that watching this film, every time I watch it, I always just think of that little bit of news tidbit regarding Dario Argento, and the fact that he, not just in this movie, but particularly in this movie, every time you see the killer's hand with a knife going behind a victim, that's actually Dario Argento's hand in the glove with that knife, wielding it and attacking the prey, his prey. Great film, Tenebrae. Cannot fail to be in any Euro horror giallo fans collection. Love it. Okay, finally from my selection for Dom's Great Contest is my all-time favourite, and that's Zombie Flesh Eaters, or Zombie 2, or various other names around Europe, but Zombie Flesh Eaters is the name that I know it by, will always refer to it as, and it's just my all-time favourite horror film, without question. I must have watched this film 30 plus times, and I still watch it today. This particular VHS is highly collectible, quite rare. It's in mint condition. Purchased it about 25 years ago, and really now just play the DVD because I don't want to damage this tape in any fashion at all. And as I think you can hopefully see from this videoing, that it's in superb condition. Great soundtrack, great characters. Again, it's got Ian McCulloch in it, and the infamous character Dr. Maynard. One of his sayings near the beginning of the film is, "The boat can leave now, tell the crew." Love it, absolutely love it. When you see it in context with the film and the pumping soundtrack begins, this truly is an iconic zombie film, and one of the best of all time. It's right up there, I think, with Dawn of the Dead. Obviously, a lot of people can argue that Dawn of the Dead is the better film, but I don't class them as being better films. I love them both, and this is a definitive zombie film, and you just can't help but love it. There's so much good about it. It's just a fantastic film. So that's it. Thank you very much, Dom, for inviting us to join your competition. These are my entries that hopefully you'll find interesting, and other people hopefully will enjoy seeing some of the other Italian horror films that I have. So thank you once again, and very best of luck to everybody in the competition, and very best of luck to you for the future, Dom, for future and further subscriptions. I'm sure you're going to get lots and lots and lots. Okay, thanks everybody, take care, see you soon, bye for now.
The boat can leave now. Tell the crew.